the government of Milton right now. The people's business. Oh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call to order the 7:30 hearing of the Milton Board of Appeals. Today is February 4, 2016, and we're in the John Cronin Conference Room. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be acting as the chairman of the Board of Appeals tonight. To my immediate left is Stephen Lumbaum, a member of the board, and to my immediate right is Francis C. O'Brien, who's also a board member. The 7:30 hearing is upon an application of Stephen Zawatsky. Is it Zawatsky? Zawatsky, great, okay. Dated December 21st, 2015, on file with the board for a variance from the terms of 6D1 of the zoning bylaw. The applicant proposes to build an 11-foot by 14-foot one-story sunroom addition at the rear of the existing single-family home at 99 Valley Road in Milton. The property is in a Residence B zoning district. Section 4D1 requires that new buildings or new portions of buildings be set back a minimum distance of 30 feet from the rear property lines, except that no building need be set back a distance equal to 30% of the average depth of the lot, which in this case would be 22.16 feet from the rear lot line. The applicant proposes the addition to be set back 12.5 feet from the rear lot line, therefore the need for the variance. This is all set forth in the application and on plans filed with the Board of Appeals and open to public inspection. I have in front of me the application filed by the applicant, which consists of the the standard form, a letter from Mr. Joseph Prondak, our building commissioner, indicating the need for a variance. Plans on file showing elevations of the proposed sunroom addition, as well as plans of the addition. The plans are undated, but they are stamped as being received by the Milton Inspectional Services Department on November 10, 2015. I also have a plot plan prepared by Robert Hannigan Associates showing the property which is at the intersection of Valley Road and Central Avenue in Milton, along with the setback and the proposed sunroom. Lastly, I have a list of the abutters. Mr. Zawatsky, welcome to the Board of Appeals. Please come up.
That's my wife, Janet.
Come on up and sit down. And maybe just state your name and your address and tell us a little bit about your application.
We've been residents at 99 Valley Road for 25 years. We are the only owners of the house. We bought it new. And we've had a deck on that house since we were there. My wife and I are both retired. We now are looking forward to having a room where we could just go out in the back of the house and rest, and we get most of the sun there during the course of the day. And just looking to have a little more space, which would actually be off of our existing family room in the house.
So tell us a little bit about your home. A little bit what kind of home it is. Two-story.
It's a two-story colonial. We have 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2 family rooms, one above the garage and one on the first floor, which is adjacent to the kitchen. We've brought up 4 children there who have all since moved on, and they no longer reside there, although we do have a grandson who spends quite a bit of time because we babysit for him 4 out of 5 days a week. So he also would probably benefit from this little room that we're going to put on as well.
You're lucky. And in the back of the house, is there currently a deck?
There is a deck.
And what do you plan to do with that deck?
The deck is going to be removed.
Explain that a little bit.
The deck is going to be removed, and the proposed sunroom is going to actually be smaller than the existing deck as it is right now.
So when the deck was constructed, do you know if there was a variance for the deck, or do you recall that?
I don't.
The house is about, you said about 20 years old?
25.
25, yeah, okay. And is the deck in good condition?
The deck is in relatively very good condition because My wife and I have maintained the property pretty well. I generally try to stain it every year because it is a flat surface and the snow gets on it and so forth,
I
but
see.
we keep it clear, and it's in good condition.
So the deck is being removed and being replaced with the sunroom?
Correct.
And will the sunroom look in appearance as if it's part of the property? So, for example, if the house is shingled, it will be shingled in the same color and the same style. So could you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for that?
We have a clapboard siding as the house is right now, and it's going to be exactly the same clapboard as the existing clapboard. It will be painted the same color as the house. The trim and body of the house will be painted the same, and it should not look like it's something that's been added on. It should look like it was an existing piece of,
There'll be windows in the sunroom?
oh yeah, absolutely, it's going to be,
I guess that's the point of the sunroom. Yeah.
yeah, getting the sun in there.
And there'll be skylights?
There are not going to be any skylights, no.
It's one story, though?
One story,
So there'll be a roof, and the roof, you'll be looking out from the windows on the second floor, you'll be looking down on the roof?
that's correct.
I see. Will there be a basement in the sunroom?
No,
And so there'll be some type of lattice or something covering the foundation?
there's going to be lattice covering the foundation, and it's going to be brought up to the level of the existing family room on the main house, so that it's going to be insulated underneath and all the way around, and as well as the ceiling.
I see. And you'll be able to step up onto you'll be able to enter the sunroom from outside?
There's going to be two entrances, one on either side of the sunroom, and when you step out from our existing family room, you're going to step out level right onto the existing sunroom, well, proposed
And
existing.
will the sunroom feature a deck as well?
I think right now, the builder is planning to have maybe a 7-foot section out each door, so that you could step out onto that and down one step.
But for the purpose of this application, the plans show a 7.5-foot by 10-foot deck. Would that be something that you would propose? My point is, and I see it as optional, and I consider that all part of the application. And I wouldn't want to see you say, you're not going to build the deck, and then if you decide to build the deck, you'd have to come back and see us.
No, I do think that that 7-foot piece is going to be part of it.
Oh, so that's all part of the application?
Yes.
And the deck is about as far into the yard as the sunroom's going to be, according
Yes.
to the drawing? Okay. Frank or Steve, do you have any questions of
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Let me ask, do you have anything else that you'd like to add with your application?
No, we do have an abutter.
Oh, no, we're getting to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. I'm the chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is my first time, I'm sorry.
Doing great. You're putting all the lawyers in town, we'll put them right out of business. We can do this. Let me ask if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak in support of the application. Sir?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Commission, I'm John Castellini. I live at 173 Central Ave. I've been there for over 30 years. If you have the plot plan, my property line abuts where the 12 feet issue is, and I don't have an issue with it. I would encourage you, I would strongly recommend that you grant the variance. If anyone is going to be impacted by this, it's my property, and I'm in total support of the variance, so I would ask you to grant the variance.
Thank you. Would you do us a favor and spell your
Spell your
name?
last name.
Chistolini. First name John.
Chistolini.
No, it's K, CH in Italian is pronounced as if it were a K. It's
How am I supposed to know that?
Chistolini. You're the chairperson, you're supposed to know everything.
That's right.
Thank you very much. That's terrific. Does anybody else would like to speak in favor of the application? Okay, hearing none. Anybody would like to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none and hearing none. Okay, I think that, unless you have anything else to add, I think that would end the testimony portion of the hearing, and I'd like to ask my colleagues, in accordance with the Commonwealth's open meeting law, to discuss the application, and we're going to vote on it right here and now. This is government in action. You ready?
Perfect.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is a very nice-looking piece of property. You don't do yourself justice when you say that it's well-maintained. It looks immaculate. I do think that it is smaller than the existing deck. I think it will be a wonderful addition to your property, and with the support of your neighbor, particularly the one who's most impacted. Small intrusion, the dimensions and the way the lot's shaped out is a little different with the stone wall and whatnot, but get to the point, I would be in favor of granting this variance.
Thank you. Stephen?
I agree with my colleagues. A very nicely presented application, Mr. Zawadzki, and it looks like a very tasteful design. I also take note of the fact that we do have a little bit of an oddly shaped lot here that might help you fit within the parameters of the statute that we have to deal with. And there is some mention of some ledge and some topographical issues there, so that in the overall, I think it was very well presented, and I would tend to vote in favor of the application.
I agree. It's terrific. It's great. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
We like to see improvements to the property. I think it's tasteful, and it's de minimis. It's less than the deck. You've got support of the neighbors. And we'll incorporate into this decision many of the items that you indicated. So, for example, it will blend in and will look as if there was no addition at all, as if it were originally there. It's terrific. We wish you good luck. We'll take 3 or 4 weeks, perhaps, to prepare the application. Let's have a vote. We're going to have a vote. All in favor of the variance?
Aye.
So, I as well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We'll take about a month to prepare the application, the variance itself. We'll get it to Mrs. Fitzgerald. She'll inform you, and be filing with the town clerk, and then you'll be given an actual variance, and you can have that recorded at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. I
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, just wait a minute, okay, because I see the clock is 7:45. 7:45? Right on time. We're just waiting 1 minute until the clock turns 7:45, and then we'll get going, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, yes?
We just take a little louder so we can hear.
Oh, yeah, sure, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll call to order the 7:45 hearing of the Milton Board of Appeals. Today is February 4, 2016. We're meeting at the John Cronin Conference Room in the Town Office Building of Milton. The 7:45 hearing is on the application of Ilda Cella, dated December 23, 2015, on file with the board for variances from the terms of 5A1, 6B3, 6C1, and 6D1 of the Milton zoning bylaw. The applicant would like to be able to build a second and third level, a 7-foot by 8-inch wide box bay window addition to the left side, and a new 14-foot by 8-foot wide front entry mudroom with a covered stair landing at her single-family home located at 39 Pine Grove Street in Milton. The property is located in a Residence Z zoning district. Plans showing the existing home at a distance of 12 foot from the front lot line, 6.5 feet from the left side lot line, and 20.8 feet from the rear lot line. The applicant's architectural plans show the square footage of the second floor to be approximately 837 square feet, and 762 square feet of space will exist at a point where 4 feet of space occurs vertically under the plane of the proposed roof, when only 558 feet are allowable. The building commissioner's calculations differ and show that only 637 square feet are allowable. Additionally, the applicant's architectural plans show the vertical expansion will be 18 feet 6 inches from the front lot line, 6 feet 6 inches from the left side lot line, and 20 feet 9 inches from the rear lot line. The box bay addition will be 4 feet 7 inches from the left side lot line, and the covered entry stairs will be 7 feet 8 inches from the front lot line. Section 6B3 front yard, Section 6C1 side yard, and Section 6D1 rear yard setback respectively require that no new buildings or no new portions of buildings be built within 20 feet of the front lot line, 10 feet of the side lot lines, nor within 30 feet of the rear lot lines. Further, the town's assessing records indicate that this residence was built in approximately 1935. Therefore, both the residence and the lot are pre-existing non-conforming within the Milton zoning bylaw. All of this, thankfully, is set forth in the application. I know that's complicated. We're going to have to go through that one by one. Set forth in the application on file with the board. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be acting as chairman. To my immediate left is Stephen Lundbaum, and to my immediate right is Francis O'Brien, both of whom are members of the Board of Appeals. The file that I have in front of me contains the application of the Board of Appeals for the variances that I just described, a letter from Building Commissioner Joseph Prondak to Attorney Robert Sheffield, dated December 8th, 2015, explaining most of what I just explained. There's an additional sentence that I will read from Mr. Prondak's letter. Please be aware that the height regulation of the bylaw requires the overall height of the building to be measured from the existing average grade to the highest portion of the building, the ridge in this case. This specific information needs to be provided by a professional land surveyor in order to fully determine compliance. Also, the dimensions of the depth of the box bay, the depth of the front porch, the height of the exterior walls, and the third floor are not provided. These dimensions will also need to be provided, and the surveyor will need to verify the distances to the lot line. Should your client be successful in obtaining variances for the setbacks, eaves, and cornices, for the setback distances, eaves and cornices may not project further than 18 inches into the setback area. I read that because I don't know that that was sufficiently explained in the notice that I read, just to give people a sense of what the building commissioner said. Also in the file are plans of the proposed improvements dated Edmund Chella, 39 Pine Grove Street, Milton, which are, I believe, oh no, I'm sorry, they're dated June 23rd, 2015, prepared by Architude. There are 5 different plans. There is also in the file notices or indication of the names of the abutters. And lastly, there's an electronic mail communication from Nancy Carr to Mary Fitzgerald, dated today, that is short enough that I'd like to read into the record and share with everybody. It's from Nancy Carr to Mary Fitzgerald, 39 Pine Grove, dated Thursday, February 4. I'm Nancy Carr, owner of 23 Hope and 25 Hope Ave. Both of these properties abut 39 Pine Grove. I'm excited that the property has been sold and improvements will be made and welcome new neighbors. My concern is the size of the structure. I certainly appreciate that the existing house is very small and the property can withstand a bigger one. I would just like consideration to be made of how high the new home would be. It is my understanding that the 3rd floor, as the plans that have been shared reflect, is not in accordance with the existing laws. I'm concerned that this may not be in line with the homes in the neighborhood and set a precedent for renovations of other homes in the street in the future. There is a fence between the properties that I believe belongs to 39 Pine Grove. I would love to talk to the new neighbors and discuss options to replace it. Thanks very much for your consideration, Nancy Carr. So we'll enter that into the record. Let me welcome Mr. Sheffield to the, once again, to the Board of Appeals and ask that he explain the application with his, with the applicants. Mr. Sheffield, welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. First, I'm not feeling very well, and I may have to run to the men's room, so if I leave without giving notice, you know what's
Will
going on.
not take that personally. Thank you for the notice.
Number one, this is an 80-year-old house that has not been kept in good repair.
Could you speak a little bit more clearly, please? Pardon me? Could you just speak a little more clearly? We can't hear too well.
I will try to, yes.
Maybe Bob, you can, yeah.
I can sit
Yeah.
here,
Is that better?
Oh, yes.
and then I can project both ways. But this is a house that was built 1935, 80 years ago. It's a small house. It is not been well-maintained. It has really become kind of an eyesore. This was purchased and by the seller, and we are planning on doing wholesale renovation to it. Basically, this would retain the same footprint, except that a bay window would go out on the left side, and another one on the right side over the driveway. The second floor would be raised and be allowed to be bedrooms, and then there'd be an attic, which would be a storage area. This would be the completion of the construction.
We can't hear a word he's saying.
Oh, he's doing the best he
Use the
can.
speaker. Use the speaker.
Is this better? Is this better? I will try to,
Hear you.
I will try to speak up nice and loud. Do you want to borrow my hearing aid, sir?
No, use the speaker, that's what it's for.
Is that even on?
Well, it's not a loudspeaker, this is a television
On the TV.
speaker, so it's not an amplifier here.
So that's a microphone for the television. That's not an amplifier.
It's not a loudspeaker.
Well, what's the other one? You got two there.
They're both the
They're
same.
both the same, they're microphones for
Let him
the,
come up here a little.
Do you want to move up? We can sit at the table and you can hear maybe a little better. You sit right at the
yeah,
table.
yeah, sit right here.
You hear better.
Oh, that was one of the big shots if I sat there.
Absolutely.
Come on up.
We pay everybody the same to sit at the table, so you can, come on up.
Yeah, let him sit here.
I sit here now, all right,
That's fine, I'll talk to you.
all right, though.
All the way up.
Basically, this is going straight up and will contain a second floor, which will be the same dimensions as the first floor, and will have an attic for a storage area. It will have a bay window on the left-hand side, and a bay window on the right-hand side overlooking the driveway. This alters the left side lot line so that it would be slightly closer to the property next door in order to increase its appearance and its likability, if you will. It looks, without the window, it looks very much like a box. And with the bay window, it will look more like a home. The applicant has shown plans to all the nearby neighbors, and he has received about 10 letters suggesting to the board that the variances be granted. The property now is shaped rather uniquely insofar as the it's the pig lot between two different streets. And the lot line on the left of the house is almost one-third smaller than the lot line on the right of the house. That makes the house now just under 21 feet from the closest point on the rear lot line. That would continue to be the same. It's a pre-existing, non-conforming house, and the variances that we're requesting and what is proposed to be done will reinvigorate that house and hopefully make the neighborhood more attractive and bring in new neighbors that I think you'll like a lot better than the old neighbors that left. On the actual questions regarding the differences, I'll defer to the architect.
So let's hear from the architect, if that's okay.
Excellent.
I would keep it.
Could you just explain,
Speak into the microphone.
let us know who you are and
Sure,
what,
my name
where
is
you...
John Ducci. I'm the architect for the project in question. And I guess I would just
Do you
reiterate,
work at,
I work for myself, actually,
oh, okay,
yes.
that's your company,
Yes.
okay. And these are your plans that you've submitted?
Correct, yes.
Are
So,
you, I'm sorry, are you Architude?
yes, sir,
Okay.
yes. We're actually a Rhode Island company, but.
That's fine, I just wanted to
out of
make sure that you were Architude.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I would just pretty much echo what Attorney Sheffield just said as far as the house. I would just give a brief description. Once again, it's what we're doing. We're keeping the existing foundation, and we're going up 2.5 stories. And as far as the appearance of the house, I've been working extensively with Mr. and Mrs. Chilla. Their concern was this is a house that they want to live in, they want to be a part of the neighborhood and raise the kids in there, and they want to be a part of the street and part of the community. In other words, they don't want to be an eyesore, first of all. They want to have a house they would be proud of, and at the same time, they want a house that's actually going to stand out in the neighborhood, especially in contrast to whoever was there prior to them, and hopefully act as a catalyst to actually improve the neighborhood. Not that it needs it, but still, whatever little might help. As far as the architectural elements of it, I try to give some richness to it, if you can see from the elevations, to incorporate some of the stone and some of the variations between shingles and siding, so this way we reflect on everything else that's in the neighborhood, tying it together. And the reason being for adding the attic space is that my feeling was to them that since we're doing all this work, it didn't make sense to do the pitched roof on the second floor and have the dormers and have this house be like a piecemeal, almost like an afterthought. And then if you notice all these added element to it, as Attorney Sheffield said, my feeling was that it would take away from the sense of being this box contractor special, and it would be more like in line with some of the arts and crafts elements in here. Now, on one of the elements, the added portico in front of it, when I do work in different towns, different inspectors and different boards view the setbacks in a different way. So I wasn't actually wasn't sure about this in Milton, but as I recently found out that the setbacks are actually measured from any hard structure. And a lot of times when we do work, we measure from a covered, from an enclosed space. So having said that, for whatever is worth it, if it makes a difference, but I've attempted to keep this enclosed space within the footprint of the existing house. So the enclosed space on the proposed would be about almost a foot further back than what it is right now. And then I've added this portico with 2 columns and a covered porch with open sides, and they would both add this nice flow and this nice rhythm going from the street into the building by going through this smooth progression. And then also number two, believe it or not, is actually creates a nice porch that's generous enough for somebody to sit and still bring back this connection between the house and the street and engage the neighborhood in there. And then, I mean, we could talk about the materials and anything else, but,
Why don't you just give us what you're thinking? I know you said arts and crafts
Yeah.
design, but in terms of materials,
in terms of materials, it's, I mean, at this point, it's open, but we've talked about it, and I try to break the building up with different materials, where you have the existing foundation, we clad that in stone, then the first floor would be in shingles, and it gives this like nice human scale, and then with some banding, and then create another layer of a hardy plank. So there'd be all elements that are reminiscent of New England architecture, so without going the extreme of doing this box of vinyl siding all the way around, that could be just any other house.
how about
So,
the roof?
The roof, actually, I propose standing seam metal. Might not necessarily be copper, but I would like to see that, or I would like to see like a darker standing seam metal. But,
For both roofs?
I'm sorry?
Both roofs?
Yeah, all the way around, yes, sir. Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
You're talking about the cosmetic of the house now. This is what you're talking about now, the cosmetic, the shingles and the clapboards and whatever, the roofing, right? How about the structure of the building itself now? Is that going to be capable of carrying 2 and 3 floors?
Yeah, it's actually going to be the wood framing, and with this standard construction, you can actually go up to a 4-story building.
This house was built way back.
Oh,
in the
Okay,
early
all right, we're going to have to, I mean, I appreciate the question. We're going to get to questions. Let's just finish with his testimony, and then we'll take your question, if that's okay.
All right, I just
Okay.
want to get it clear.
No, I know, it will get cleared. It
No,
will
you're
get cleared.
talking about the finished product.
Sure.
I'm talking about the structure.
Yeah,
of it.
we'll have a lot of questions. So could you stay right there, though?
No,
Because
I'll sit over here now.
Okay. So,
I said what I wanted to say.
okay. Do you have anything more that you'd like to add, sir?
I mean, I could add all day long,
Yeah.
but it's like, I don't think it'd be
All right, you're-
relevant.
you're here now.
So,
My colleagues have any questions?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Mr. Sheffield, you're asking for an awful lot of relief here. And you know, in general, to begin
Frank,
with...
could you speak up?
You know, in general, the board is not generally enamored of structures that are this tall. I just would like you to address the height and the mass of the building. Certainly, it would be significantly bigger than what's there now.
It will be significantly taller than what's there now. It would be no more than the 35 feet height, and no variance is being requested for the height. The side lot variance is being requested only for the bay window, which will be a little bit closer to the neighbor than the house is now, and it's a significant architectural feature. If the board were to feel uncomfortable with that, we could continue with the box-like building and not request any additional side lot setback. But that area is fenced in between the houses. We propose putting a new fence in, and I noticed that the letter of the person, one of the neighbors suggests that be done. I'm in agreement. However, the fence would not be part of the application because that would be totally consistent with the current bylaw.
So would you consider the request of relief on the left side lot line to be relatively de minimis, to use a term that we used in the last hearing?
It would be relatively de minimis because the intrusion closer to the lot line only exists for, 8 feet for the bay window?
the big window, actually, I have it up.
You know, it doesn't mean that the whole side is going to be any closer.
7 feet.
So it only is, 7 feet, of the window.
I can,
I think it's a significant architectural figure, but if the board, would be uncomfortable with it, they could, go back with a straight line box type on that side.
Mr. Chairman, if I make a suggestion, there are a number of zoning variances which are being sought here, and perhaps if we go through them one at a time, in particular, I know that I assume that we're going to have a number of questions concerning the height of the structure and things like that. So that's it for me on the left side of the lot.
Let's do that. Let's go through them one at a time. I have one fundamental question that I want to ask, if we could do that before we go through one of them at a time. Steve, do you want to ask any questions before we go through each of the variances?
I mean, has Mr. Prondak's questions or his concerns been addressed? I think you said that there's not a request for a variance on the height, but I think Mr. Prondak had a question as to, has the height been fully measured out?
It has been fully measured out. We haven't submitted plans to the building commissioner yet that detail
So you may
that
have to
height,
come
but we
back.
have to be within 35 feet. And,
Understood.
no relief is being sought.
Well,
So
okay, let's talk about that, but,
that would carry with it the notion that you're going to come back with...
No, not that we're going to come back.
That you're going to go,
yeah, so go ahead, Steve.
you're going to go to the town with 35 and nothing in excess of 35? Because we
We'll-
don't see it here.
We'll be going less than 35.
Okay. But that was his question, and then
And
I
what
think we
he
have...
would need is, before he could give a building permit out,
Okay,
he would need proof of that.
right, okay.
And such proof will be given in the detail,
And then there seems to be this difference of opinion with respect to the square footage on the second floor. Mr. Prondak is saying it's one thing, and the application seems to say it's something else, so I think we need to know what we're going to be voting on in
yes,
terms of that.
yeah. Could you address that?
As he raises it in
I think that
his denial
relates to
letter.
the stairway,
Yeah,
whether the stairway is considered square footage
yeah, so that's...
or not.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only discrepancy. When I was measuring, I measured the net square footage of the attic minus the stair for the floor. But having said that, I've actually included the square footage of the stairs on the ground level. So the fact that it goes all the way up, I'm not omitting the fact that the stairs are there, but I'm counting them once on the ground level. And up in the roof, in the attic, since it's open all the way around, it's not a part of the plane, my thought is that it's logical that wouldn't be counting in the usable square feet.
Well, the question is whether or not that area is more than 2/3 of the floor area remaining below. Is it
is.
true in both cases?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. So while we need to get this number of square feet correct, it is a correct statement that you do need a variance under Section 5A1, because this is more than a 2.5-story building.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do people understand that?
Yes.
That's the issue.
Yes, yes.
There's two issues on height. One is the size, the number of floors. This building under the bylaw is 3 stories, and the bylaw only permits 2.5 stories. That's part of the relief being sought. Mr. Lumbaum has asked another question about the height of the building. The plans are a little bit confusing, which I think is Mr. Lumbaum's question. There's been testimony that the height hasn't been fully established yet. So that was one question that Mr. Lumbaum had. But the plans indicate that it's 33 feet 11 inches high at the front and 36 feet 1 inch at the rear. Mr. Prondak, the building commissioner, has indicated that there needs to be measurement based upon the average grade of the property. That's the discussion. The reason why I'm going through this, though, is I want people to understand that there's a difference between the mass of the building, this being a 3-story building, and the height of the building. Both really are at issue in this hearing, in my opinion. In addition to, as Mr. O'Brien indicated, we've got side, rear, and front lot line setbacks. Those are those are taken into consideration by the board, but it's also taken into consideration in light of the property that's currently there. There's been a lot of discussion about how great the setback is in light of the current improvement. So, I mean to repeat what we've all said, but I read the application, I couldn't understand it. I've been a lawyer for 30 years, I have no idea what that said. And I can't imagine that, you know, all the millions of people watching us at home could understand it either, and on reruns. Let me, so we're going to get back to the hearing. I have one question that I want to ask the architect. Oh, Steve, do you have another?
No,
Okay.
all set.
I don't think there's been enough, I want to ask the question that the gentleman, whose name I didn't know, you didn't give us your name, I don't think.
Your name, Jack, tell your name.
Oh, what I'm worried about is the
Your name?
area walls of the
What's your
first
name?
floor. Oh, Jack is fine.
Jack Ryan,
Yeah.
Jack
on
Ryan.
Hope Ave.
Okay, Jack.
Thank you.
Oh, don't tell him where I live.
He needs to know.
O'Brien.
You're not some
Jack
stranger from
Ryan.
another
Oh,
town.
well, let's get back to the walls.
Yeah.
The weight of the second and third floor is going to push on those walls on the first floor,
Yeah.
which is only a cracker box of a house. It may not carry the weight of the second and third floor.
So that's exactly my question. I'll ask it a different way. Would you mind explaining how much renovation is really going on here? I mean, we've seen plans of the new building, and we've seen a site plan of the old building, but we haven't seen plans of the old building, so it's hard to tell how much of the new building is a new building. You give us an idea of what we're going to expect and how much is really new versus renovating the old.
I guess there's a two-part answer to that.
Address
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Ryan as well.
I was saying there's a two-part answer to that. We've assessed the foundation, this seems to be in good shape, so that does not need to be replaced. We thought about the possibility of keeping the existing floors, existing wall on the first floor, and then going up, but then, since we're doing all this work, it made sense to actually get rid of those walls as well, and replace them with a new 2x6 structure that allows for a greater strength and more room for the insulation, which is the new code. So they're making all this effort and spending all this money and time to do it. My thought was it would make sense to bring it back down to the foundation, keep the foundation, and then going up with new structure.
Right, what's the is the foundation stone or is it poured cement?
It's a combination.
Huh?
It's a combination of two. It's
Combination of
yeah, it's
two.
granite
Yeah.
and poured
Yeah.
cement as well.
Uh-huh.
But they will be able to support a 5-story building if needed. That's from the structural point of
I
view.
don't know.
No, that's what I'm
I don't
saying.
think
So
right? Yeah. No, you don't want to say that because
No.
they won't do it.
Okay,
and
so
then,
thank you for that. Mr. O'Brien?
So let me ask the question in a different way. You're retaining the existing foundation,
yes,
okay? Are you planning on removing the current structure that sits on the existing
Yes.
foundation in its entirety?
yes,
So you're leaving, so the new building would be built on the old foundation
Right.
in the current footprint,
Right.
but from the foundation up,
correct.
it's all new construction.
So we'll stay within the same envelope and just replacing the studs.
Thank you.
Well, except where you're not staying within the envelope, because we've established that the...
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, I guess I misspoke. When I meant on the envelope, I meant in the footprint.
So this is going to be a brand-new building.
From the foundation up, yes.
Steve, questions?
Questions?
Okay. Let me, you have anything you want to add?
I would actually add to that, you made a comment on the average of the height. We've had a survey done, and I've had the surveyor make spot elevations all the way around the building, and I was trying to be very cognizant of staying within the 35-foot height of the average. So what we've done, we've actually made a point to measure from the front of the house to the proposed top of the ridge, then the center of the house and the rear of the house. So, given all of those three, when added and divided in three, I was coming up with 34 feet 9 inches from the average grade to the ridge, which, of course, I mean, that could change depending how many spot elevations you take, because the grade might change up and down. But just for the preliminary design, I was going based on that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we may come back to that, okay? But I think it would be helpful, have you finished with your preliminary testimony, Mr.
Yes.
Sheffield? Okay. I'd like to ask if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak in support of the application or has any questions regarding the application. Yes, welcome to the Board of Appeals. Please introduce yourself, tell us your name and where you live. Actually, come on up here, if you don't mind. We'll pay you, which one we paid Mr. Ryan.
You can sit in Jack Ryan's seat.
That's where Mr. Ryan usually sits.
I'm Jim Camo. I live at 31...
Jim Camo?
Camo, yep.
Could you spell that, please?
Comeau. I live at 31 Pine Grove Street with my wife and 2 daughters. We've been there just a few months. We've been in Milton about 2 years now. We just bought that property. So let me be forthcoming by saying, somewhere down the road, I as well may need variances, but I am 100% in support. I'm not a direct abutter, as some of my neighbors are that I see here. I don't see their property, their proposed structure, being an inconvenience to me, an eyesore to me, as compared to what's there now. As Mr. Sheffield said, the house is in total disarray. It hasn't been well-maintained at all. It's an eyesore to the neighborhood. I met these folks the other day, their kids. I think they'd be a great asset to our neighborhood, compared to stories I've heard of the neighbors who owned that house before and how other neighbors didn't care for them. I didn't know them personally. I work in construction. I see a lot of homes being built, and I'd like to see, I don't know anything about the height variances or any of that, but as far as those bump outs on either side for the windows, I see it as a common practice. It gives a home character, as Mr. Sheffield said. Without those, it's just a box. It's not even a home. And I think I'd like to see the property values in our neighborhood go up. I plan on raising my daughters there, until I retire. And I don't see a negative effect of their proposed property.
Thank you very much.
So I'm 100% for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak in support of the application or have any questions regarding the application? Yes.
My name is Claude Colici. I live on 26 Denmark Ave.
Could you spell your name, please?
It's K-L-O-D. Last name K-E-L-L-I-C-I.
K-E-L-L-I-C-I.
I live on 26 Denmark, as I said. It's the street right in front of it. And my house is relatively small too. And I would like to go update my house, and like everybody else, I'd like not a bigger house, but a nicer house. And I don't see anything wrong having a nicer house in my neighborhood. I have also kids. I would like to become friends with him, and my kids hang with him, so I don't see anything wrong with this proposed house.
So should we say that you're in support of the
Yes, I am in
application?
support 100%.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak in support of the application or have any questions about the application? Hearing none. Does anybody like to speak in opposition to the application?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Blythe, and I live at 35 Pine Grove Street. And I'm a direct abutter of the Cellars. And I haven't met you before. I would like to say hello.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Blythe, could you spell your name for us?
B-L-Y-T-H-E.
Thank you.
Mrs. Blythe.
What's this? Yeah.
So I have...
So I'm sorry, you said you're a direct abutter, but what side of the...
I'm on the right.
So you're
When you're
looking
going
at the
down-
house, you're on the right?
Yeah,
Okay, thank
yeah.
you. Next to the driveway.
Yes, yes. So I have a letter I would like to read as part of the record.
Please.
This is from Brian Kelly, and he lives on Hope Street. Thank you. Looking at the map, Hope Street, at the bottom of Hope Street, Squantum is up here. This is the general area we're looking at. So Brian lives 2 houses over, considered an abutter, not directly, but he's well known in the neighborhood and he's part of our neighborhood.
Okay.
So, dear Milton Board of Appeals, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting due to health reasons, but wanted to share my concerns over the proposed application of Ildicella for the property on Pine Grove. Giving the property a facelift will be a welcome addition to the neighborhood, but I'm concerned about the height of the structure for the adjoining abutters. I remember speaking to a neighbor when a home with a similar height was built next to him on Howe Street and how upset he was. And when I drive past that home, it doesn't fit with the neighborhood, in my opinion, at all. And I have concerns that this proposed structure will be of the same nature. And I have, for the record, a picture of the Howe Street house. It's right across from Andrew's field.
We remember
I remember this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to show, it's a beautiful house. It's 3 stories. And there's a very, very small bungalow right next to it. That it's tiny and it's very big.
Can I see that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The plans state that the 3rd floor will be for storage only. And in that case, I would ask the appeals board to keep the height within the current zoning height permitted without a variance. With the dormers and windows on the 3rd floor, I'm concerned that it would be converted into living space at some future date by this owner or another. Removing the windows from the 3rd floor and lowering the roof according to code would satisfy me. Sincerely, Brian Kelly and Hillary Black. So I would like to include this as part of the record.
Thank you.
And I have my own statement I would like to read. So my name is Kathy Blythe, and I've lived at 35 Pine Grove for 6 years. And I'm delighted to have Ed and Ildicella and the children as next-door neighbors at 39 Pine Grove. And I'm looking forward to a beautiful home, replacing what's been an eyesore ever since my son and I moved in. But for the same reasons that Brian stated, I can't support the variance to build up from 1.5 to 3 stories. The house design is impressive. It's beautiful, but visually it doesn't fit in a neighborhood where there are bungalows and capes on 5,000 square foot lots, many on less than 5,000 square feet, like the 6 houses abutting Pine Grove. And Mrs. Carr was one of those abutters who sent the statement. So the Howe Street photo shows the impact of a similar buildup. But like Brian Kelly, I'm in agreement with the variance if the roof is lowered and the windows are removed so that the house meets code and is a better neighborhood fit. I have a question about the house design. When houses are so close together, any renovation needs to factor in privacy. There's only 24 feet between our 2 houses, like from wall to wall. Looking at the plans, will one of my bathroom windows, or one of my 2 bathroom windows, be directly opposite one of the master bedroom windows? I can't tell from the plan. And I'd like a site visit with the architect who drew up the plans to measure this, and just to see if the windows are opposite, and could we discuss it? And in conclusion, Milton is a desirable town to live in for many reasons, but the housing supply is limited. And for couples and for young families, an affordable way to move into town is to buy a small house on a small lot and build up. East Milton has lots of houses like this. I mean, there are 5 bungalows and capes on our side of the street alone. So building up, but meeting code, provides families with the space they need, and doesn't have a negative impact on the neighborhood. So that's my statement,
Thank you.
and I would like to enter that for
Yes.
record.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak in opposition to the application? Welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you. I'm Elaine McCabe. I live at 45 Pine Grove Street. I've been there for 37-plus years, and I'm the abutter on the left side, which is the most concerned with that box bay window that's going to jut out. Right now, there's only 6.5 feet between my property line and the house itself, and if they put that out, I want to know how far is it going out, because it appears that I'm going to lose another 2 feet between the two, plus privacy. I have my den on that side of the house, which I spend a lot of time in, and I have a window on that side that I feel like I'll be just so exposed. And I welcome my neighbors. I'd love to have you as neighbors. I just am very, very concerned about the size of the house, the height. I live in a little small cape, and it would overpower my house. It's too big for the lot in the neighborhood that is filled with bungalows and small capes. As the plans go against the code, the zoning laws of Milton, I think that it needs to be conformed to the zoning laws. That it's just, if they put that mudroom out in the front, it's going to be too close to the street, it's going to be overpowering. It's just, I'm against the variance. And I also have a letter from Mr. O'Rourke on 17 Hope Ave, and it says, "To the Milton Board of Appeals, my neighbor Elaine McCabe is delivering this letter to tomorrow's meeting. My wife is seriously ill, and I cannot leave her to attend. We have lived in our house for 12 years. We moved from South Boston to Milton to get away from the closeness of three-story houses and to move to a street where the houses were smaller and further apart from each other. I am against this renovation at 39 Pine Grove Street because the house is much too large for that size property, and also, more important, the street is filled with capes and bungalows and small colonials, and this house would have 3 stories. It doesn't fit in. It also needs to meet the housing code in Milton. We live on the corner of Pine Grove and Hope. I look out in this house every day. This house does not belong in this neighborhood." I would like to ask the architect for the depth of that box bay window that you would
The
put in.
depth of it is, give me one second.
I couldn't read those.
No, the depth of it is about 18 inches. The box in there, we're proposing a banquette for...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
For breakfast. So, and the windows are 2 feet wide, so about this wide, and they would start, I mean, the projection actually doesn't go all the way down to the ground.
Yeah,
So
I
it'd
know,
be
it's
from-
like my front window, but
Yeah,
I
exactly. So-
have my deck on that side. So that,
It's about 18 inches that projects out, and the overall is under 7 feet, is actually 6 foot, 6 foot,
oh, because
6 foot 4.
in the application, or the letter that was sent to Mr. Sheffield, it's 7 feet 8 inches wide.
This is 3, 1, so 6 foot 3, 6 foot 3, 6 foot 8, about 6
Well,
foot.
it says here, the 7 feet 8 inches wide box bay window addition to the left side.
No, left-hand side is actually, that's under 7 feet, as is right now, so, and about 18 inches deep, and the windows wouldn't start about to, what?
I'll tell you what, we can't redesign the building here at the Board of
Okay.
Appeals, so I agree.
Yeah.
I think you're right. That is what the letter says. I think the window is very important. Maybe there's some modifications needed, but I don't think we can
Okay.
design it
Thank you
here.
very much for
You're
your
welcome.
time.
Thank you for your testimony. Would there be anybody else in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my name is Pat
Oh, could you
Crowley.
just come on up here, ma'am? Would you mind? Welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Pat Crowley, and I live at 36 Pine Grove Street, directly across
Across the street, directly from the house.
the street from it.
Welcome.
And I've lived there for 41 years. So it's a nice neighborhood, and the house certainly does need improvement that's across the street there, but I think it's just a little bit too big. All I can see is that house on Howe Street,
Yeah,
which is humongous.
yeah.
And I think it needs to be downsized a little bit, and it would be great to have new neighbors there and have a nice house, and I feel that, if they could do something like that, I think it would be very nice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Okay, hearing none. I think my colleagues have some questions, and Mr. O'Brien has a pending request to go through each one of the variances. I want to make one other comment before we get back to the dialogue, and that is Mr. Sheffield did give me some letters that I didn't take the time to read into the record. I'd like to do that now. We've had testimony, live testimony in favor and against, and these are a series of, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters in support. They're all Dear Mr. and Mrs. Neighbor letters. I'll just read the letter so that everybody knows what the letter says. We have submitted an application. This is from Edmund and Ilda Cella. Ilda Cella? Is it Ilda? Yeah. We've submitted an application to the Milton Zoning Board of Appeals for a building variance, which we need in order to renovate 39 Pine Grove Street. Since your property is close to ours, we wanted to let you know of our application. This way, you can provide the zoning board with any comments should you so desire. Enclosed is a copy of our application materials, which we submitted to the zoning board for you to review. Our request is on the zoning board calendar for the review for their meeting on February 4. If you don't have any objection to our request, we would appreciate you signing the consent at the bottom of this letter and returning to us. Naturally, in the event you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us. And these letters have been signed by Elaine Angelini, I think maybe David Fields, the Fulton family, Keller, 26 Denmark, Jeffrey Graham, somebody whose name is indecipherable, Deirdre Lonergan, and Karen Bassigalupo. I'm sorry, Mrs. Bassigalupo, for not getting your name correctly. Okay, so that's the extent of the testimony we've had. Mr. O'Brien, perhaps you've got some questions, but, go ahead, Mr.
Just one of the items that you're seeking a variance on is from the front yard setback.
Yes.
And I believe the architect, in your testimony before us, suggested that the intrusion into the setback required by the code is less under the proposed plan than what is existing there now?
What I was saying, no, I wasn't saying it that way. I was saying as far as the visual appearance of it, the enclosed space of the house itself is actually further set back from the front.
From the front, not on the side.
Right.
And,
Actually, not by a foot, by an inch.
yeah, but
Yeah, by an inch.
yeah, exactly.
The enclosed space, but not the portico.
Right.
But the left variance is extensive.
Yes.
Yeah, from the current, yeah, you're right. Well, I think there's been a lot of discussion. I wonder if you might want to, a lot of times at this point in the hearing, it might be appropriate to just talk to the applicant about how you wish to proceed.
Well, I think that if there is opposition to the bay window on the left, then we could eliminate that because the person that lives there has concerns, privacy concerns, and I think that her privacy concerns need to be respected. So I would ask that that variance be denied, and we would go with a flat window or something which does not reduce the, does not make the building any closer to the adjacent property than it already is.
Yeah, but it's a new building, isn't it?
Essentially, it's a whole redo, a redo.
I'm not sure that works, given the extent of the renovations here. That's another issue I think we may have. But I appreciate the point you've made, Mr. Sheffield. Thank you for that. Do you have anything else you want to state? I mean, there was other testimony regarding the height and the massing and the
Well,
extent of that third floor and the windows. I mean, it's not just the left sideline.
I love the front porch and portico, and I think that will give it a lot of character without deteriorating in any way from the neighborhood in which it's in. I would think that that type of a front setback variance could be very much in keeping with the neighborhood and the future of the neighborhood.
Let me just give you a sense of what I'm thinking as the chair. I'm going to just step out here. My sense of this hearing is that there's a lot of concern about the mass of this building. I think there's been a lot of compliments for the architect, and the building is quite handsome. But the building is large, and we've had occasion in this area of town, and there's been direct testimony by Mrs. Bly. Mrs. Bly? Ms. Bly. Fair point. About this very same issue, I think this building, the building that's been offered in evidence might be slightly larger than the one that you've proposed. But nevertheless, my sense is that the opposition is not in the improvement. It's in the massing of the building and the out-of-character nature of the improvement. And it's my sense as the chair, acting chair, I don't know that it can be resolved right now with, at a public hearing with the number of concerns we have. I'd like to suggest that maybe, and this is Mr. Sheffield and your clients, and at the board's discretion, it may make sense to recess this hearing and to re-caucus.
Well,
so to give you some time to...
There's another possibility, and I hear and respect the concern about the mass of the building and that having a third floor that would dwarf the other properties is a concern. I've spoken to my client, and he is willing to to ask that the variance not be granted for the 2.5 stories. And the architect would have to come back with a smaller design on the top that would meet the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Exercising your prerogative, I thank the applicant for both of those concessions. I join my chairman in suggesting that what I sense is no opposition to improving the structure. Indeed, it sounds like the structure is in need of great improvement. Again, I sense a concern about the height and the mass. I think that there are substantial changes to the existing plan that would be made if the bay window's removed, if the height of the roof is changed, which I would welcome that.
Yep.
But I think that there's existing confusion on the plans and the measurements now. There is the potential for even more confusion on the plans and the measurements after these changes that we're talking about in concept. And as you know, Mr. Sheffield, we like to tie the variances that we put in with the plans that we have on file so that our building inspector knows or can guess at what we've done. It would be a puzzlement to me how our building inspector could make sense of this without an opportunity for the applicant to go back and revise plans and suggest a different course of action for the board.
Could I suggest an...
Yeah, more fundamentally, what the suggestion does from my perspective is it may compromise the design, and then we really don't know what we're voting on. So no, you're not granting a variance for the massing, the three-story issue, and I'm not sure what we're left with, particularly in light of the fact that we're going to take this building down. And I'd like the building inspector to think about what that really means. But go ahead, Mr. Sheffield, you asked to speak.
Yeah, I would suggest that we have a 3 or 4 week delay in the decision, and that would give the architect and the applicant an opportunity to take into consideration what was heard tonight, the concerns of some of the neighbors and the concerns of the board, and come back with revised plans that could be considered by the board, and would also have an opportunity to show those ahead of time to the neighbors so that they could feel more comfortable with it. This is a neighborhood that it's the heart of East Milton. I've had my offices in East Milton for only 28 years, so I'm a newcomer. But I think that this would be in everyone's interest, and if it could...
Okay. Let me thank you, Mr. Sheffield. Let me speak with my colleagues as to whether or not they would entertain a continuance of this hearing for a 3 to 4 week period for the purposes articulated by Mr. Sheffield.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me say to the audience that if we do grant this variance, I don't want anyone to feel under any pressure that they have to compromise the positions that they've taken at this hearing. They've been thoughtfully considered by the board, and I know thoughtfully offered by the people in town. And we appreciate that, and we value that, particularly from 2 direct abutters. But what we've established is that it's a thoughtful design and that the improvements are indeed needed, but there needs to be more design and more conversation before the board would consider an application. And when that application gets back to the board, should the board grant this extension, we'd expect it to be comprehensive in nature so that we know what we're voting on. And not voting on something that would be confusing to the building inspector or surprising to the neighbors once it was improved. That would be embarrassing and unacceptable to the Board of Appeals.
Yep.
And dare say to the building inspector and perhaps even the Board of Selectmen. I would also ask Mr. Sheffield if you would undertake to talk to the building inspector and making certain that he understands that this building is being brought down rather than simply modified. Because I thought that the application really came in as if we were respecting the nonconformity. And there's a question in my mind as to whether or not we destroy the nonconformity by effectively demolishing the building. I don't know the legal answer, you perhaps do, but I think we ought to be prepared to talk about that and take that into consideration at the next hearing, if that's okay.
Fine, and I'll meet with the building inspector on those issues.
Thank you very much. Is there any other business before the Board of Appeals before I ask my colleagues to vote on a continuance of this hearing? Okay, hearing none. What's the board's pleasure on a continuance of this hearing?
I think, Ms. Fitzgerald, your suggestions relative to the schedule?
Yeah, on the 24th, I have a hearing.
Well, let me first ask, is the board willing to extend the extension?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now the question is, what day would we want to do that?
How about March 3rd?
March 3rd.
Can't do it.
Okay.
I may be away.
Florida? British Virgin Islands?
Somewhere.
South
other
Boston?
than here, yeah.
I take it that whole week.
That week, Steve?
Wednesday the 2nd works for me.
Are you still alive?
Dorchester that day?
Hopefully far away, but I think I'm gone that week.
Make a plan.
It's kind of up in the air because we're working around a couple of college children's schedules, so, but that week's probably not good. Week of the 29th of February.
You want to try for the next week?
Or unless you want to do the 25th.
8th?
I can't.
25th.
No,
Of
I will be out of
February?
town.
No. I'm thinking,
Wednesday, the 9th?
is there any way we can push it to the week of the 14th?
16th?
I can do that.
16th, Mr. Sheffield?
16th. Well, that's that's St. Patrick's Day Eve.
Day before, St.
Mr. Ryan wouldn't want to be here on,
I think a fair bit of the audience. The 16th?
okay.
So this hearing is extended and continued until 7:30 PM on March 16th, in this room, the John Cronin Conference Room. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mary, could you sign that notice? Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Nice job. Good luck. Bye now.
16, 7:30.
Great. We just show up just like that? Oh, the process from here? I think you reach out to to Mr. Sheffield and have a dialogue, and, yeah, you need one.
See you. Oh, my birthday.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Oh, you've been here a long time.
I see. We'll make a note to that effect, and we'll put that in the record at the next meeting. Okay? Gotcha. Angeloni? Angeloni, okay. Okay, Mrs. Angeloni. You're welcome.
Another piece of paper.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Bye now, good luck. How are you? Very good. Good, hi.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, just a
Steve,
just a
yeah.
sec, we're running a little bit late.
Thank you. Try.
Okay.
Remember that one on, Owl?
I wasn't on that, but I do remember. Good. In the middle, you probably Little League or something. I think it's still live.
He had done have the construction,
Was it right across from Andrews Park? Yeah.
Can't miss it.
and it's a
Was it?
nightmare.
You can't miss it.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's,
I remember it, yeah. I think we're on
he
television.
had the height, he didn't need the height, and, Chairman Leonard was,
You push it through. Too funny. Okay, Mary, could you just ask the folks in the, interfering with the people's business? Okay, we're going to call to order the 8 o'clock hearing of the Milton Board of Appeals on February 4 at the John Cronin Conference Room upon the application of Michael Gums and Christella Catro, dated December 24, 2015, on file with the board for variances from the terms of 5A1 and 6C1 of the Milton zoning bylaw. The applicants propose to remove the existing roof structure and reconstruct a new roof structure to create additional third-floor living space in the existing single-family home located at 140 Audubon Road, Milton, which is in a Residence C zoning district. Section 5A1 limits buildings to 2.5 stories. A half story is determined at a point where 4 feet of space occurs vertically under the plane of the roof. The approximate allowable square footage is 400, where 532 square feet is proposed. Section 6C1 requires that new buildings or new portions of buildings be set back a minimum distance of 10 feet from the right side property line. This vertical extension will be 8.7 feet from the right side property line. The structure was built in approximately 1928 and is a pre-existing non-conforming residence. All as set forth in the application and plans on file with the board. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be acting as chairman. With me is Francis O'Brien, a board member to my to my right, and Stephen Lundbaum, a board member, to my left. Included in the file I have in front of me is the application submitted for 140 Audubon Road, along with a letter from the building commissioner consistent with the advertisement I just read, a plot plan from Antonioni land surveyors showing the property and the improvements to be located on the property, as well as plans and elevations of the property prepared by JSG Architecture Interior Design, dated, it looks like October 22nd, 2015. Lastly, I have a file, I have a list of the abutters to the property. Let me welcome Mr. Gums to the Board of Appeals. Join us. And I see he's brought his architect with him.
Oh, you know me.
He's no stranger to the Board of Appeals. You can't escape our trained eye.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Got my hair cut. I didn't know if you'd recognize me.
I got my hair cut. So how can we help you?
Yes, basically, I'm looking to have this renovation done. We have a growing family. We just had a new addition in November, and we don't have any room to expand to the left, right, or the rear of the building, so we're looking logically to expand vertically. This will allow us to gain 2 additional bedrooms that are needed in the home in order for us to continue to live comfortably in the home.
Okay. So can you talk a little bit about what the home looks like, what it's made out of, and what you're proposing, and perhaps your architect could help us a little bit with the fundamental design and what your concept is?
Basically, the home is wood structure.
Could you just give us your name?
Oh, my name is Joe Genduso, JSG Architecture. The home is a wood structure, clapboard or shingle, don't quite recall.
Shingle.
Gable roof, 2.5 story, with a 1-story structure on the front, which is basically part of the living room behind. Second floor has 3 bedrooms. We will be consuming one of those bedrooms for a stair up to the attic, and we're proposing to add 2 bedrooms and a bath in the, basically built on top of the existing attic floor, but because we'll need additional headroom in order to make those spaces functional, we're proposing to raise the roof ridge to the maximum allowable height of 35 feet and incorporate a shed dormer on one side and 2 gable dormers on the other to add interest and, of course, to function as increased headroom space. The intent of the design, obviously, was to feel like it was part of the original constructed home. I tried to maintain a level of detail and scale that I thought was appropriate for the home, and hopefully I did a good enough job to approve.
So that when improved, the addition will be adding 2 bedrooms and a bathroom to the house.
But the total bedroom count will be 4, not 5, because we're consuming at that 3rd smaller bedroom on the 2nd floor for a stairway up to the attic.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Can I ask if you spoke to your neighbors about the improvements?
Yes, I did, sir.
So when you give us a sense of that. With whom did you speak and what did they say?
I directly spoke with my neighbor to the left. His first name is George, and I basically indicated what our plans were for the renovation, and he didn't give any indication that he would object to the plan. And also, our neighbor to the right was made aware, as well as our neighbor across the street.
And the one in back?
The one in back was not, no.
We do have an exhibit here, photographs of homes on the street in that area that show a consistency with what we're presenting.
Let's
So
see it.
And Michael put that together. And there's a map on the back of that, too, to give you an idea of the area. There's singles and multifamilies on your street,
That is correct.
Questions by my board members, fellow board members?
So we're going right to 35 feet on the height.
Yeah, the idea with that is to maximize headroom and also the pitch of the roof, so that it doesn't appear flat.
In addition to the two new bedrooms, we have another bathroom
There
going
will be a
in.
bathroom servicing those 2 bedrooms, correct. And a small little landing space at the stair, which will be into the pitched roof.
But we're staying within the existing footprint in terms of...
We are
the,
staying within the existing footprint. We're building on the existing walls for practical reasons. And
So there's no real additional encroachment on the right side?
no, we're maintaining that non-conforming setback of 8.7 feet there. And in reality, we're asking for, I think, 132, 135 additional square feet in the attic space beyond what's allowed by zoning. So that's, I think that's a reasonable request, but obviously, you'll have to decide that.
Frank?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
We will assume, can we assume that the improvements will be done in a manner that will be consistent with the balance of the property, so that when they're completed, it will be a seamless addition?
That's my function, yes.
We intend to, I know you said that, what is it, clapboard? What is the finish on the outside?
Actually, the actual finish is aluminum siding,
You're gonna,
but it will likely be replaced with a vinyl-type siding.
Aluminum clapboards right now, yeah?
so you'll side the, you'll vinyl side the entire
The entire
property?
property, yes,
And-
to make, because aluminum would obviously be removed during the renovation, and then the entire property would be re-sided with
I see.
vinyl.
And you said you had a growing family. Let's get that on the record.
Existing pictures.
And you just said you had a new child. Congratulations.
Thank
But
you.
you have a bigger family than that.
Yes, I have two, I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old boy next month, and a newborn baby, as well as my mother lives with us as our caretaker.
Okay. So there are 6 people living in the property?
Yes, they are.
Okay. I don't have any questions. My board members have any further questions in the evidentiary portion of the hearing? No. Okay. So in accordance with the Commonwealth's open meeting law, we're going to debate the merits of the application. I'm going to, yes. Is there anybody here? There is nobody here. But Mrs. Fitzgerald has asked me to ask this question so that it will be on the audio recording for the time capsule that this hearing will be featured in Milton's 400th anniversary. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor? Hearing none. And anybody in the audience wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none. We'll move to the to the discussion portion of the hearing, close the evidence, and we'll discuss it in accordance with the Commonwealth's open meeting law. Mr. Lombo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I'm sorry, I had just an observation. Is there any planned use of the attic? Is this, I'm just looking at the plan.
Of the part that's above what would be
Right.
usable headroom?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
And it'd be a very small area, approximately 4.5 feet high by about 6 feet wide, a triangular area up in the peak. And there will be no use for that space,
Okay.
any practical use.
Okay. I like to, if I can't drive the property prior to the hearing, I love Google Earth.
I do have some photos there, but, oh, you did Google. Okay.
And I was able to get a kind of a
Oh,
good
good.
feel for the street. And in particular, I noted 1 or 2 houses down. There's a large home. It may be a 2-family, but it sort of is almost,
The yellow
gives
one.
you a picture of what this is going to look like, but obviously this isn't as big. And I do like the design. I think it,
Well, thank you.
I think it will enhance the neighborhood, that particular street, that part of town over near Houston Ave. Obviously, a well-stated need, growing family. And again, as I said, I do like the design. I think on the overall, I would tend to vote in favor of the application.
Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would tend to vote in favor of the application. I think from a practical point of view, the only way to go is up. We don't generally favor upper story additions, changes like this, but it's not inconsistent with other buildings in the neighborhood. I think it's been tastefully blended by an architect familiar with the neighborhood and familiar with buildings in the town. I think it's been well presented, and I would be in favor, as I said, of voting for it.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add to those terrific comments about which I agree, particularly the comment about being in character with the neighborhood, which is what this is really all about. So I intend to vote in favor of it as well, subject to the conditions that we discussed, and to an understanding that the improvements will be made consistent, generally consistent with the plan that your architect has so skillfully prepared. So all in favor of granting the variance?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. You've been
Thank you.
granted with 2 variances, actually, and consistent with the application. The board will take a month or so to prepare the variance and provide it to Mrs. Fitzgerald. She'll be in touch with you, be filed with the town clerk, and the variance will be given to you for recording with the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations and best of luck to you.
Thank you for
very
your time.
much.
Thank you.
I'll do this one. Thanks, Frank. Thank you all. Good night.
Right.